our Pages development with VS Code and CLI. Now, quick refresher for new people. My name is Alexander Alashin. I'm senior developer at Hitachi Solution Canada, and I'm also Microsoft Visa MVP. I'm writing my blog, dancingwithcrm.com, and you can connect with me via social media like LinkedIn and Twitter using my alias, Dancing with CRM. Now, with that quick refresher done, let's move to the actual presentation. So, what are we going to talk in this presentation? Well, we will talk about Power Pages and how code development changes with time from Dynamics portals or Power Apps portal to Pages, why Power Platform CLI is necessary and what it can do for us. Then we will talk about VS Code and extension, what extension exists, how you can use VS Code to make it easier. And then we will have a demo when we will have step-by-step instruction of downloading your portal, doing some changes, etc., and then a Q&A. So, what's the first thing when you think about changing the code in portal? Well, a long time ago, and still now, you can always go to portal management, go to your web template, and change your code manually. Not the best experience of it all, not ideal. Also, you don't have a lot of cool things that you can have with your EDE, like your own extension and stuff like that. It's doable, but not as developer friendly. As time passed by, we were introduced with Portal Studio. And again, editor here is not ideal. Like the window is small, you cannot change its size, kind of not the greatest experience of it all. Again, time goes by and we move to Power Pages. And again, it's still not there yet, right? It's still small, it's still not ideal, it's still not as user-friendly. Plus, how to save feature, yeah, it's not the best experience overall. If you are developing Portal like me for a long time, you almost all the time go back to some trusted tool. And in my case, and a lot of people's case, it was External Toolbox and Portal Code Editor, which much easier, bigger screen, a lot of things, some code highlight. Again, it was not a full EDE experience, so it was still not ideal. There was no autocomplete and a lot of useful features, but it was there. It was on our side. It helped develop portals. But as time grew by, portals become more and more important, more and more complex, and we needed a tool to help us to develop portals on scale, to be able to bring actual developers and perform a lot of more complicated tasks that you can usually do from just portal management or Portal Studio. Well, welcome Power Platform CLI. So Power Platform CLI is command line utility to help you to do a wide variety of tasks. It's not bound to just Portal. With Power Platform CLI, you can perform administration of your environment, managing application, canvas, plugins, solution, telemetry, etc. So it's much more powerful tools than just working for the portal. And it's an amazing CLI. It allows you to perform almost all of your administrative tasks and create new things with ease. And not the time ago, PA portal command was added to work with Power Apps portal. So what it can do? Well, right now there are three main parts of the PA portal command. You can have list, download, and upload. List features all the portals that you have in current Dataverse organization. Download allows you to download your website to a local folder via ID from the current organization, and upload subsequently allows you to upload your local website to an environment. Now, for now, there is no like create commands, etc. So you cannot create web pages, web templates, permissions, or anything like that from CLI. So you still need to go to either Portal Studio or to Portal Management to create new things, and then you can download them via CLI. It might change in the future, but there is no timeline or no ETA. But I'm eagerly waiting for it because it would make experience just awesome, and just sitting inside Visual Studio Code and developing your portal would be amazing. But we are not there yet, but we come a long way. So how do you get Power Platform CLI? Well, there are two ways right now. So you can have it via standalone installer, or via VS Code extension. Now, there are benefits and issues with both of these paths. So with standalone installer, you are controlling which version do you get for Power Platform CLI, meaning that you install it and you need to manually update it. It has plus if new CLI update introduce some breaking changes, etc., you will not be impacted by it. But you also need to make sure that you always in the most current version to not be outdated when new functionality comes out or when the old functionality becomes deprecated. With VS Code extension, it's easier. VS Code extension manages CLI for you. You don't need to update it. It will always be up to date. The problem with this approach, as I mentioned earlier, is if there are any breaking changes that you are not aware of, or is any bugs, you will be impacted. Now, I would say for most developer, VS Code extension is an ideal path. Now, bugs can occur obviously with CLI, but they're not just common or frequent. Plus, Microsoft team delivers fixes quite fast for the CLI. So VS Code extension is ideal. Plus, it has some additional benefits, which we will talk in a moment. So how to get extension? So extension we are talking about is Power Platform tools. You can just go to Visual Studio right now, Visual Studio Code, and install it. Now, Power Platform tools brings you CLI. It installs CLI, but also it installs some portal-specific things that makes you developing portal locally faster. For example, one of the benefits is liquid autocomplete. So you have a snippets of a liquid code that you can use to create liquid faster, like entity form, entity list, entity view, etc. Right now, the list is basically what you see right now on the screen. And it doesn't have autocomplete, so it will not put the name of the entity form and will not show you available range, but it will be there at some point in time. Microsoft also said that they will extend snippet list, like code component, for example, is not here yet, but it will be. So it will be growing and it would make development much more easier and much more straightforward. Other awesome things that I really like is a preview page. So like you can develop your portal and locally see the styling of it via preview button. Now, there are still some caveats with this one. So it's not always work. It supports only standard themes. So if you have any deviation, it will not work. It's not showing any liquid code, like you will just see it on the page instead of it rendering entity form, etc. And this feature will be enhanced in the future. And Microsoft said that, you know, liquid code will be supported in some capacity, etc. But it's on the at some point in the future, and there is no ETA. But even in that, to be honest, especially if I'm working with standard team, it's really nice to have this preview feature and seeing how things will look like without need to upload back to the system. The next is Parax Portal Helper. This extension that I developed. And basically, it's simplify work with Power Platform CLI by making sure that you don't need to remember all the parameters for the command. And you can just, you know, call VS Code portal command window and type command, and it will prompt you with possible options. And right now, there are plentiful of commands available. Also, as there are like list portal and the load portal, the standard command, but I also created some shortcuts, download latest, etc., which simplifies your day-to-day work. So I will deep dive in this a bit later on demo page, just saying that it's a good extension if you're working with Portal and it makes your life easier. At least it's making my life easier when I'm developing portals. And last, but certainly not the least, extensions that I would recommend to install is Power Platform Extension Pack from Danish. And the benefit of this extension pack, it's not just one extension, but as you can see, it's a pack of extensions, and it's include 4 extensions. So it includes Power Platform Tools, which brings you CLI and all the goodies from Microsoft. It includes Mining Extension to help to simplify with portals. It also includes PCF Builder to help you make your PCF component easier, and also Dataverse DevTools to make it easier to work with Dataverse solution from Visual Studio Code. Highly recommend it. if you want to install, and you're working not just with portals, but Dataverse, or might thinking about PCF, I would recommend install this one. It's really a nice one. Okay, now when we run through the presentation, let's go to the demo and let's learn how to work with the CLI in step-by-step fashion, and why it's useful, when it's not useful, and what we can do in more details. Okay, so first open your Visual Studio Code and open any folder where you would like your portal to be stored. For me, it's portal folder, and as you can see, we already have some folder, React Page Demo. Don't think about it right now. We will use it later. So we have this portal. Now you need to go to extensions and install extension to bring a CLI. So you can install Power Platform tools to bring the CLI. Also, in this demo, I will be using my extension to simplify work. So if you you can install it to follow me. It's called Power Portal Helper. And again, if you want to install all of them, you can just install Power Platform extension pack from Danish. Now, after the install, you would need to refresh Visual Studio by closing it, or if you have reload button over here. So I give everyone a moment to install if you would like to follow me. And yeah, we will continue shortly. And while you're installing, I will check if there are any questions already. Okay, no questions so far. Good. Okay, so now that you have an extension installed, Power Platform Tools, you might see that you have here new window called Power Platform. And you can open it. You can see your available authentication profile. You can see environments and solutions, etc. So to start working with CLI, you first need to create authentication profile. Authentication profile basically identifies who you are and on behalf of who a system will perform queries to Dataverse and will create whatever it's needed. So to create a authentication profile, you need to have a URL of your environment. So let's grab it. So this is URL of my environment, copying it, just the URL itself. Going back to portal. Now, I will use my extension. So to call Power App Visual Studio command line, you need to call Ctrl-Shift-P, and it's brought command line, or you can go View and command line. And as you can see, you can type in here different commands. So in my case, it will be Portal Helper. And as you can see, Portal Helper has create new auth profile. Basically, it's just a wrapper around the standard pack auth create command, just to make it things easier. So when you select create new auth profile, the first question, okay, URL. This is the URL of your instance. So we are entering URL, hitting enter. And what's happening is you can see in terminal, my extension just calls pack auth create with the URL of environment that we need to create. And as you notice, it opens our Microsoft Login Console, and I can select my profile, which I want to associate, and I will enter password, hit sign in, and it will create. Now, I will not do it right now because I already have profile created, as you can see it here. Now, by default, it will just name it with the name of your URL. So it would says like org, in my case, it would say org73fd, etc. But you can rename it here. You just need to right click. And as you can see, you can rename our profile. And it would make it easier to work with profile when you have different like dev, prod, etc. You can also copy user to have the details of the user that you are authenticated with. You can also use, let me just make it bigger for now. Okay, you can also, as you can see, you have the star on the left on your profile, and it shows which profile currently selected. And you can switch profile by just clicking on the star. So it makes it easier. Now, if you don't want to do that for some reason, and you would like to do it through command line, you can still do it. For example, pack auth, and we have switch profile. as you can see, like we have select command, which allows you select which notification profile should be active. And you can run this command to select between authentication profiles. Okay, so the first step is done. We are authenticated. So let's check to which, just to double sure. We can also run pack org who. Now, what this command does is basically it gives you details about environments that you're connecting to. So as for example, it validates that I am indeed connected to my demo environment and sharing some useful information. So when we double check that we are connected to a correct environment, what we need to do is to get the list of portals that are available in our environment. To do so, we will use the list command. And again, I will be using my tool to simplify the work. So I'm just typing portal and selecting list portals. Also, just to clarify, you can also use shortcuts. So almost all default commands has some sort of shortcuts to make it easier, and you don't need to type portal, list portal, etc. You can, for example, just type Ctrl-LP, and it will run list portal command. So when we are running list portal commands, as you can see, it's just pack portal list. And it will present us with the list of all portals available in our environment with their ID and friendly name. So for this demo, we have Bootcamp demo. So let's download this portal. To download the portal, you need to copy ID of the portal and then run download command. So again, I will be using portal helper. So download portal. So download portal has a couple of parameters. First is the path of where you would like to put your portal. If you're using my extension, I built some shortcuts. For example, you instead of typing the full path to the current folder, you can just type C, and it will replace it with current folder address. The second parameter is ID, and it's ID of your portal to identify. Now we are moving to more interesting parameters. So recently, just a couple of week or two ago, Microsoft added interesting extension optional parameters to download command. You can select what entities you would like to include or exclude during the download. And it's really important because, for example, you want to work just with table permissions. Nice, you download just table permissions, do some changes, upload them back. Or, for example, you are working with the old portal that has a lot of web files and were built not using best practices, so that it has like thousands and hundreds of pages. I saw that, it's horrible. And you want to download it. If you just try to download it without exclusion and inclusion of some sort of files, it will take a long time. The longest I saw was like 5 minutes to load file locally, portal locally, which is insane. Like waiting 5 minutes every time when something changes the portal is insane, especially if you are working on fast pace between your Visual Studio Code and your Power Pages. And for example, I know that for that portal, majority of problems was web files. It just has enormous amount of web files, and I don't need them when I'm developing something. So I would just exclude them via these parameters. Also, if you're using my extension, as you can see, you can select what you would like to exclude or include. If you're not using it, you would need to type the list of schema names, comma separated, to provide to this command. Now, for this demo, let's now not exclude or include anything. We can just click OK. And again, as you can see now, it's entities to exclude. Click it OK. The last option is overwrite existing portal. And this option is important when you already download the portal and you would like to replace it with new changes. So when you download the portal the second time, you would need to select yes to overwrite existing portal with new changes that are coming from CLI. So we are clicking yes anyway. And as you can see, it's now puts the command in here. Yeah, it will. I'll scroll back just a second. Now, this portal is quite small and it's loading pretty fast. In actual production portal, I saw like loading time in like 30 to 40 seconds, which is really nice. For demo or small portals, it can go to 17 seconds, which is really good, especially if you have tendency to do a lot of changes on the Power Pages side and go back. So as you can see, what my extension did was just produce this command, pack portal download. And again, pass to the folder. And as you remember, I just typed C and my extension replaced it with actual path. You have an ID of the portal, and we have the last parameter is an override true. If you don't specify parameters, for example, include option, my extension will just not produce them. And in general, if you're not using some parameters, you can omit them. For example, even override is optional parameter, which is true by default for Microsoft. So you don't need to specify it every time. And if we inspect what we are actually downloading, we basically downloading all the main parts of the portal: web templates, web files, access, templates, site settings, etc. And as you can see, now we have Bootcamp demo. Now, Portal will create a folder with the name of your portal. So like if I would have starter portal, I would have starter portal as a root folder. Because I called my Bootcamp demo, I have Bootcamp demo, etc. That's why it's important to make different portal names, especially if you have multiple portals, to make it easier to download and work with them. So now we have all of it. So one thing, let's navigate to this Bootcamp demo to make it a root folder to show some additional functionality. So to do so in command, I will just type cd bootcamp demo, and I'll run code dot, which will open Visual Studio Code in that folder. So, okay, right now I'm in Bootcamp demo folder. As you can see, it's a root folder for my workspace. And we have all we need to work with the portal. We have our web pages. We have our web templates. Basically, we have everything we need, and we can start customizing and uploading it back. Really important feature is that CLI is smart enough. So like it will, when you upload the portal back to the system, it will upload only the changes that you made. So it will not like upload all the portal all the time, which is really important. Quick highlight, CLI doesn't have concurrency validation, and also doesn't have like if multiple developers updating the page at the same time, what will happen? Basically, who updates the last wins. So there is no like validation that the pages are editing. So you need to be careful. And especially if there are multiple developers on the same project using this one, make sure that they either working on different pages, or before pushing in dev, for example, committed to Git repository, so you can merge changes there, which you would do usually. Okay, now when we have our portal, let's do some changes. So let's say we have our homepage, right? And we want to make some changes. So let's first see what we have in our home folder. So in our home folder, we have content pages and home webpage.yaml. Home webpage.yaml has all of the metadata about your web page. So like the name, template ID, URL, title, etc., and used by the portal itself. In content pages, you obviously see your content pages. So right now I have only English in my system, so I can see and US. And if I would have, for example, Ukrainian, I would have here and US and Ukrainian as well. And as you can see, the naming convention is basically the page name dot the name of the language. And then as you can see, we have here copy and summary. So if we go back to our environment and go to portal management and open our home web page, definitely need to clean this up. Yeah, so Bootcamp demo. Okay, so if we're opening our content page here, you might notice, or you might remember that as usual, we have copy HTML. It's where our portal editor stores the data, but also we have